Hi everybody, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
All right, if I get too loud, you'll let me know, but my name's Anthony Baratta. I'm really excited to be here today. I work for the City Mission of Cleveland, and part of my job, I'm in the fundraising office, and we go out and say thank you to people who have made donations and also just make presentations in the community just to let everyone know what's happening at the City Mission, and I love getting to get out and speak to you. So thank you for having me, and the slides we're going to go through today are about the City Mission. Just for background, how many people have heard of the City Mission? Can you raise your hands? Has anybody been to any of our locations before or made donations anyway? Okay, great. So some of this may be familiar to you, and some of it won't be, and that's great. So I'm going to jump in and go from there, and feel free to stop me if you have any questions. But the City Mission is 112 years old, so founded in 1910. There's a group of kind of traveling preacher businessmen that Mel Trotter was one of the guys' names who started some of these rescue missions in Michigan, came down to Ohio, got local businessmen to raise money to be a place for people experiencing homelessness. Our first location was in a saloon, and services have evolved over the years, but our mission has stayed consistent, founded as a Christian mission, providing help and hope to all people through the transforming power of God's love. So just to, our core values are going to be similar to you all here at Lakewood, but we're called to serve Christ and others, believe God transforms lives, commit to steward well, succeed by working together, and care for every person, knowing all are made in the image of God. So this is what gets fun for me of kind of our services. So we have the downtown location on Carnegie, just a couple miles from Cleveland Clinic. We've had various locations in that downtown over the last 100 years. But, and that's where our men's crisis center is right now. I'm just keeping track of time. So that's existed there. We've got about 75 guys there right now. And the thing that will make the City Mission really distinct from other services in the city, because there are other services doing a really good job, is that we are a program. We offer a long-term stay. So our average stay for our guys and our women and our children is 9 to 12 months. That is very unique, and the reason that is unique is because about 12 years ago or so, the federal government changed its approach to homelessness as a country. We wanted to do rapid rehousing, would get people in, spend 30 to 45 days in any shelter, and then try and get somebody some type of housing, hotel room or whatever that be. It's been interesting because we did not take any government funding, so everybody had to follow that model besides us. And at that point, we were kind of like, the people that were not changing our approach to the cutting edge. Well, because that model, which is right for some, but probably not right for all, does not give time to really address this underlying mental health or drug use or some of these big issues, pendulum's starting to swing a little bit of longer stays and addressing mental health and drug addiction and all of that. And in my view, we're now becoming kind of cutting edge of these longer term stays and things like that. So we're a program where our average stay is 9 to 12 months. And so at our crossroads, our guys there, and then Laura's home is actually just under 4 miles from here. So on Puritas Avenue, not far from St. Patrick's Church or not far from the airport, everything's relative, right? And we've been there. That was a Glen Bay hospital at one point in its history, and we've been there for 20 years. And right now we've got about 65 women and 65 kids under 18 there in our facility. And by the way, we just added 10,000 square feet onto Laura's home. It's beautiful. We call our tours that we give the I had no idea tours. They're powerful, and it really is a special place. And if any of you are interested, I'm giving tours all the time, and I would love to take you through half hour, 45 minutes, anytime that you want. of our Laura's Home facility, either of our facilities, but Laura's Home is very close, very easy parking, all of that. And then our third kind of part of that is Pathways that serves our kids. So we do full-time summer programming, after-school programming. We have a very good relationship with Claire Westropp's school down the road. So that's kind of what the city mission is. And the other part I'd add on to that as part of Laura's Home is we have a program called New Horizons we want to try and impact as many people as possible, so we've limited it to women with kids. But if we have somebody go through our program who's really doing a great job and we think has potential with their income and everything to make it to be really successful, we'll move them into a home ownership track where after several years of working with a case manager, we'll actually provide them a home, free and clear, provide the title. We've done that with about a dozen families, and we're partnering with Habitat for Humanity to grow that program, really a way to break generational poverty. We'll have a church donate a home or a donor donate a home, or we'll buy it ourselves and fix it up. And so that's been a unique program for us as well. So again, just more that when I was talking about program, we're a holistic ministry that exists to serve men, women, and children. By, our kind of metrics are moving towards stability. So we want employment, we want independent housing, we want to kind of address that whole person. So at our program, you'll have a career services where we're trying to get birth certificates, social security cards, resumes, everything you wouldn't think would be an issue, to getting a job, to getting a good job. We partner with Tri-C and other local colleges on doing GED work and all of that. It's very holistic care. So everybody who comes to us, free of charge, food, shelter, clothing. We have a clothing boutique, 3 hot meals, and that's the basic of help. And our heart, we're doing a lot of trauma-informed care, and just to give you a idea, last year we had 377 women, 411 children, and 330 men supported as we have somebody has a caseworker. It has the feel of a high school or college, honestly, because you've got kind of a RA assigned to you, you're working through your classes, you're working through all of that as you work towards stability. And again, we want people to move towards long-term housing, stable income. That can be, a lot of times we're significantly improving their career prospects by and for some people who come in disabled, elderly, what long-term stability might be Medicaid, right? It's not always going to be that I'm now a nursing assistant at the local hospital, right? So every person has their own track. And so one of my favorite parts, another thing I'd love for you to come to, is we have several times a year, we have a graduation. If we can get people to stay for that 9 months, we have a tremendous success record. It's getting people to stay, right? Somebody might come, they got that better job, I don't really need to deal with these other issues and leave early. And our success rate isn't as high for those people. It's still pretty good. But we really encourage graduation. Will you stay and complete the program for us? Stay and address all of these issues. So we have graduation several times at Laura's Home a year. The women actually wear caps and gowns. It is fun. It's a neat time. Over here on the right, this is Reggie was a young man, and his mom and his aunt both came into the program last year at the same time and exited with just a tremendous story, tremendous stability, and really powerful to see that. And Ashley over here actually was one of our New Horizons recipients, so was able to be in our program. She had a tremendous story of, at the height of COVID, was laid off because she'd been so sick and didn't know what to do and had a rough background, and was able to come to our program, actually get a type of nursing license, get a good job, and move into one of our homes. So we're really proud of those stories. And the way that we think about generational poverty, right? So you have situational poverty. We'll have people come to us that They have income, they might have a background, but they just don't have a place to stay, whether it's domestic violence or whatever the situation is. But then we also have people who I have never had stability, and my parents never had stability, and another generation back never had stability. That's harder to break, right? There's a lot more going on there with just structural issues. So we love getting to serve our kids. We love getting to do that. So thank you for having me today. One of the ways that we can get through, or that you can be involved, is just by learning. So I've left with you, and you're welcome to take out our latest newsletter and our latest annual report that tells those stories, tells more about what we do. So thank you for being here. Thank you for those of you who donate already and receive our mailings. I hope that this makes it more real for you. But we also have opportunities where you can volunteer. We do church partnerships, our New Horizons programs, prayer. We want people to be involved actively in Lord's Home and own it as part of the community for this area, but also our downtown city mission. So what that looks like, of course, is we actually, financially donating through one-time or recurring or planned giving, all of that's ways that, what's really cool. So I work in the fundraising office. I came from a college fundraising background. What's really cool about the city mission is we have over 20,000 donors a year, and we don't have any people who are giving us millions and millions, right? This is all the work of the local community sending in what they can. And it's really powerful. A lot of fundraising organizations, like where I came from, the college world, you got a few people who had a lot of money, given a lot at the top, and nobody else that interested. That is not the case of the city mission. If you make a donation, whatever it is, because we receive no government funding, it's all just going to serve the organization. So it's really fun to be in my role because I get to say thank you, and I'm very proud of the work that we're doing, and I'm very proud of where your dollars are going. And you can just rest assured they're being put to very good use. So it's a fun place to donate to. Downtown at our Carnegie location is where we do drop-offs for used clothing or new. We get to be pretty picky about our clothing. We like them as new as possible because we just don't have that much space. So we have a small clothing boutique room, and it's all stocked with nice clothing. But we also have common urgent needs of deodorant, full-size toiletries, all of those things. We've got a link on our website for our most urgent needs at the moment. But whatever, we've got lots of ways to donate, and it's put to good use. And we have a need for volunteers. What's also cool about the city mission is, sometimes I'll hear organizations that I'll feel like, do they really need my volunteer hours? Are they just saying it? We do. And nationwide, it would not be a surprise to you that through COVID and post-COVID, volunteering, generally speaking, across the country is way down, and we feel it. We have groups come in done-in-a-day projects where they're painting rooms and stuff, and we've chosen to not have the staff to do that because we can rely on our volunteers and keep our costs low. So we have done-in-a-day projects, and we do need help with that, and then we have recurring volunteer opportunities like working at the front desk or working in childcare. So if you're interested in any of those, just let me know. We've got a volunteer orientation that takes you through different tracks, but they are real needs, and our volunteers do feel good about what they do. And that can be, like I said, through those recurring volunteer opportunities, the one-time or special events. I love talking about our Christmas fair because what's really neat about our Christmas fair is the moms come in and they actually have to pay for a ticket, like 50 cents, and they take that ticket and they can go and buy some new toys that have been donated to us. Our volunteers wrap those toys up while their kids are playing at a fair, and now they've had Christmas. It's not just given free for all, but they feel some ownership and some dignity that they're doing that. And then the kids come and pick out gifts for their mom. So a big part of what we do is all about that restoring dignity, that we don't want people just feeling like they're always getting handouts or anything like that. We want to have people really feel like they can stand on their own 2 feet. That's a big point of pride for us. And the Christmas Fair is one of those places that's special for all of us. And we have employment needs. So if you know people, or if you're one of those that wants to work for the City Mission, you know, we serve everybody, but our staff are Christian. So we really rely on our local churches to help staff our agency, because we want to keep that Christ theme and Christ mission in what we do, no matter what. And finally, we have other fun ways to get involved. So we have a Running with a Mission 5K. We're having a gala, and our first gala in April. What our new CEO, or our CEO, Linda Vegas, started about 1.5 years ago, and she has a really fun story. She started as a stay-at-home mom of 5 kids at Laura's home as a volunteer 20 years ago. And then they asked her, well, you know, at night when your kids are sleeping or whatever, would you be willing to be one of our security guards? And she thought, well, I can pick up a little bit of extra income, so she did that. And then they said, would you be willing to be a cook in the kitchen? And she did that. And long story short, she worked her way up to CEO over 20 years and has a lot of approval and buy-in from the whole staff because she's done every single position at the City Mission. And so a lot of what Linda's just trying to do is just get the word out about what's happening at the City Mission. So that's when we do things like our 5K or our gala. We're just trying to get the word out because we feel like what's happening there is very special. And we need the support to do that. So, you know, we get partnerships like through the New Horizon program. And I've got cards every year. If anybody just wants to be on an email list or anything like that, you can also just send me an email just so you get kept in the know that way, however you want to be kept in the know. But that's our program in a nutshell. Again, I'd love to take questions if you have any questions, because usually there's at least one that goes down a rabbit hole that I'd love to go with you. But I just want to thank you for having me today, and thank you for the difference you make in the community. And I'd love to answer any questions if you have any.
Do you do group tours?
Do what?
Do you do group tours?
Yeah, for our residents?
No, for the public to come and see what you do in your facilities.
Yes, we do group tours. So that's another thing that we'll and what's nice is it just helps make it more real, easy parking, all of that. So yeah, if you're ever interested, if you've got a group, we do that. And for group tours, I said it, so just to give you a little bit more on the program, everybody who comes is assigned kind of this tour. So that we call it OSS, on-site services. So our residents are working in the kitchen, our residents are cleaning. It's part of this kind of job readiness, as well as going through classes. So forgot to say that just to give you. But yeah, we're always happy to do group tours as well, and things like that. Any other questions?
I came in a little late, so
Yeah.
you might have said this already, but I was curious, how many people do you house?
Yeah, so at Crossroads, our men's shelter, we've got about 70, 75 guys there at any one time. And at Laura's home, we've got right now about 65 women, 65 kids. Laura's home has this is kind of heartbreaking stat for me to always hear, but Laura's home is full. It's been full for years. We had a brief time in COVID when people were really concerned about, congregate living and willing to stay a little bit longer on, someone's couch, where we had a couple openings, but Laura's home's full, and we get dozens of calls every day of people asking if we have space. And they go on the wait list, and the people who call the most when we have an opening are the first people we call saying we have an opening. So it's kind of heartbreaking in the sense of how much need there is. The flip side is that that the people who are there want to be there. There's a commitment of, I'm going to be in this program, I'm going to try and stay, and there's a culture of that. We do also have what we call overflow housing as part of Laura's home, especially. We do it at Crossroads as well, but we have some open beds there, so it's less of an issue. But at Laura's home, we don't turn away anybody. So if somebody calls, the police often show up with somebody and their kids in the middle of the night, domestic violence situation, we'll house them right away. We've got overflow housing where we can at least let them stay for a few days and then work with the Cleveland health system and homeless services to try and find a place where they do have room. Those are very real situations that the police are coming and bringing people regularly, which is sad, but part of why we do this, right? Go ahead.
Is Laura's home equipped to handle people with disabilities
Yes.
that are in domestic violence situations?
So, yes, the caveat, so what I say about, so yes, we've got people in wheelchairs, we've got people with different mental disabilities and things like that, to a point, right? So if somebody comes, we're a drug-free facility, so when you come, you take a drug test. If you test positive, that doesn't mean that you're exited immediately, it just knows, we've got an issue and you can't keep using drugs to be here. And we do drug tests while people are there. We work with Ohio Guidestone, who provides our kind of substance abuse counseling and things like that. But if somebody comes and their addiction is so severe, right, that they need to be in a treatment facility. I was just talking to a guy, Kevin, at Crossroads this week at lunch, where he came, his alcohol addiction was so severe, he needed to go to a treatment facility. And then when he was done with that, he was able to come back to Crossroads. So we'll have situations like that where we're not equipped to deal with this severe of a situation, but then they might be able to come back. Go ahead.
My question was more towards physical disabilities.
Okay. Yes, it's wheelchair accessible. We've got multiple people there in wheelchairs. And does that go?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I have not been familiar with City Mission before, but I have a feeling that your focus a lot is on women and long-term programs and such, and encouragement for women. The graduation pictures are primarily women. Is the men's program more trenchant, or tell me more?
Yeah, so the men, our program is the same at both the men and women. Both of them are 9 to 12 month stays. Both of them are, so they're similar. They're different populations though. Our men's, so if somebody is an intact family or a dad with kids, the Salvation Army does serve that population in town, but it's not typical. A lot of our guys who are coming tend to be a little bit older, like late 30s, 40s, that have some substance abuse and are detached from family and need time, a lot of time to get on their feet, and then they have less of a hard time getting housing because they don't have kids and they're able to find their way in. A New Horizons, why we do that with the women and kids is it's just harder to find housing with kids, and we can impact more people that way. And our Laura's home population tends to be younger than the Crossroads for whatever. We've got a lot of moms with kids in their 20s and early 30s for whatever reason. But both of them are trying to move towards that long-term stability. But kids just do make things complicated. I don't know that I mentioned, I've got 5 young kids. So my oldest daughter is here today. I wanted her to come talk, but she really loved that nursery. So I said, you get to hear what Daddy does. No, these baby dolls are awesome. So yeah, go ahead.
Do you have plans for expansion in any way? Like, what's the future?
Yeah, so the 2 areas, so we just finished this capital campaign of $9 million to add the 10,000 square feet at Laura's home, and we made the Crossroads program, we did internal, making that place nicer. Originally, pre-COVID, we were going to include in that capital campaign, not just an expansion of our program space, which is what that 10,000 square feet is. It's not adding more beds, but also adding more beds at Laura's home. We decided to not do that at that time, to just get our program space, which is where we had the most. It was really hard to keep all of our kids housed and doing all the right programming by them, partnering with Ohio Guidestones so that they had offices and court appearances, Zoom meetings. We just didn't have a lot of spaces for those meeting rooms. So that's what we did first. Our future hope is that we've got 2 areas where we might go. One, that property here, I think we're good with this. Our property at Laura's home actually is 5 acres, which is kind of amazing, right? You know, definitely not something we encounter downtown. And so we've got room where we could add 8 kind of townhouse, condo type buildings to be future transitional housing. We talk a lot about giving the gift of time to people who come to us. And so that's a future project that may get greenlit on the horizon so that our women, you know, because we can't give homes to everybody. That's hard to scale that up that high, right? But we could give more gift of time where somebody can pay us a program fee, still continue to work with our caseworkers, continue to send their kids to their daycare, to our daycare, available to our residents at Laura's home, and steadily build up savings and education to exit on their feet. So that's one area we could go in the future. We've definitely talked about it. The construction costs are just high, so we decided to wait on that right now, but we were close. And I think additional bed space at Laura's home is an additional one. You know, it wasn't our original capital campaign, so I think that's another space we could go. At Crossroads, what's happening with Crossroads is unfortunately just with space, they don't all have their own room. And so it is bunk beds in several big rooms, which is more what I pictured when I thought of homeless shelter or something like that. We are trying to add more dignity and care to those rooms. So something, you know, I don't know that I would have thought about, but for our guys who are elderly, and elderly can actually be pretty young if you're homeless. Like they start talking about guys in their 40s as elderly who've been chronically homeless just because it's rough on the body and you're just more likely to be in poor health. And so a lot of people can't climb the ladders to get to the top bunks. So some other rescue mission came up with a system of the step-up bed system where it's actually kind of lofted beds with stairs that you climb to get up and a railing. It's kind of hard to imagine without a picture, but trust me, it makes sense. And it's a connected set of 4 beds, 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. And on Giving Tuesday this year, November 29th, we're especially fundraising for the step-up bed system. It'll give guys more privacy and a plug in the wall for charger and some space for books. So just a better experience than a bunk bed as well. Go ahead.
Do you part of healthcare?
Yeah, definitely. So Linda's really passionate about community partnerships, and so Metro Health is coming. They've got mobile clinics, which is neat, that can come, and it's just a big kind of RV-looking thing in our parking lot where people come for doctor's appointments and things like that, and dental care. We've expanded our partnerships just in the last year generally with that Habitat for Humanity. We had a full staff position trying to track down how do we renovate these homes and which construction workers. And then John Habit is the CEO of Habitat for Humanity, which always makes people laugh, said we should help you with this and do these partnerships. And so we've now partnered with them on several homes. And we've also established a partnership with Greater Cleveland Food Bank where they'll give us food at discounted rate. So those are some partnerships we've done in the last year.
How old is the city mission?
So 1910 is when the city mission was started, and it's looked different over the years. You know, we had Angeline Christian Home was our women's home but it wasn't that big part of what we did. We were mostly serving men, and that was mostly the homeless population for a period of time. And as we saw more moms with kids and things like that, we transitioned to Laura's home, but our Crossroads program has been pretty similar. Anyone else? Great, well, I'll stay after. Again, I've got materials, I've got cards. Would love to give you a tour if you're ever interested, and if not, that's okay too. Just thank you, and thank you for having me.